know that eventually Aunt Lydia, or maybe she has been and we don't know it, she is resistance. She ends up the Gilead side of, resistance, working from the inside with Mayday. That is amazing. And I want to see that evolution play out. They cannot just go from, hey, this is Aunt Lydia as, her and how we left off, and we're going to leave you to extrapolate all these things, because extrapolate we certainly did. And then, however long down the line, we don't see her or something, and we end up with a Testament's either spin-off or morph. And then all of a sudden, Aunt Lydia is like resistance and working from the inside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just want to see that evolution happen. And I think it happens because of her pursuit of June. And I really, we only know a little bit from the trailers, but I just really think that they had a fucking reckoning with each other. They're going to have a reckoning with each other. And they are somehow going to agree to work together. And that is the union I want to see. Yeah. I'm here for it.
Yes.
There's nothing else I want to see. It's exactly that. You're saying I have the exact quote from Lydia in the Testaments. It's the Testaments quote that I go back to most frequently. So she's talking in the Testaments. Lydia is talking about her time from when she got captured. So she was originally a lawyer. And then Gilead takes over and she gets taken to the stadium, and she walks you through her whole process of how she becomes how she becomes an authority figure in Gilead. And she's talking about that. And she says, for a time, I almost believed what I understood I was supposed to believe. I numbered myself among the faithful for the same reason that many in Gilead did, because it was less dangerous. What good is it to throw yourself in front of a steamroller out of moral principles and then be crushed flat like a sock emptied of its foot? Better to fade into the crowd, the piously praising, hate-mongering crowd. Better to hurl rocks than to have them hurled at you. Or better for your chances of staying alive. They knew that so well, the architects of Gilead. Their kind always knew that. And I was always wondering, at what point does she change? Because she says, there's a time that I almost believed what I was supposed to believe. So we know from most of what we get of Lydia in the Testaments, and probably most of Lydia in her time in Gilead, she is resistant. She is working with Mayday. And I would like to believe, exactly like you're saying, Scarlett, that we're going to see that transition, that what we've seen of Lydia thus far has been her time where she has believed what she's supposed to believe. And I do want to see June be the impetus of changing her to resistance.
Yeah, we've talked about like exactly like what we think that that benchmark point is for her, and I would absolutely love to see that play out in season 4, because it's either that or we get the Rock'em Sock'em, like the two coming to an absolute head. And it doesn't seem as though, I mean, based off of everything that we know with what's going to be happening or what's happened in the Testaments, that Aunt Lydia wouldn't besmirch June eventually, like once they do finally have their face-to-face reckoning. Like, let's hope that they have a face-to-face reckoning. We would love to see that no matter which way it plays out. But we've talked a couple of times as to what we think Lydia's first aha moment is. And I think, like, I believe that we'd already discussed it starting in season 2. Yeah. And in season 3 in particular, I think we're starting to see the cracks in the facade. So I would really love it if they would lean into that. I mean, case in point, when the Waterfords were on their trip to the capital, and June asks Aunt Lydia in a moment of frankness, which you've said that we don't get to see often, which is so right, whether or not that with having the handmaids have the rings in their mouths, if that's how Lydia envisioned it. And Lydia also, in a moment of candor with tears like welling up in her eyes, says, no, this isn't how I imagined it. And I think by that point, she's already starting to like roll around the idea of how to, like, what she's found herself in and her own culpability in all of this. So I think with season 4, what I'd hope to see is Aunt Lydia having a reckoning with herself. And I think that her intense desire to hunt June down is specifically because she's already mentally there.
Yeah.
Right. See, I think the reason I have a hard time, because I'm gonna, exactly like you said, Roxy, kind of contradict everything I said I want to see in season 4, because I know I've said that before.
Mm-hmm.
When I was looking at the Testaments book, I wrote in the sidelines, like in the little margins, that I felt this way initially, like that we haven't seen this side of Lydia yet. But after I finished the Testaments, there's so much of her subversiveness happens so early on. I feel like when she's writing the Ardua Hall motto, and that's got to be pretty early in her Gilead aunt structure. I guess she's the architect of the aunts, and she, from the time she meets Judd, she's brought into, from the stadium on capture, she's brought in, she's basically turned into an aunt, and we have the 5 founding aunts that are brought in with Judd to create the Handmaid system. Then we have to assume that this has happened prior to June ever being caught, being, or at least, you know, there's no Red Center, there's no aunts, so there's no June in the Red Center yet. And Lydia's there, fully aunted up, and seemingly been there for at least enough times to have some protocol. So I guess that is the flaw with her having the reckoning with June in season 4, is that I believe a lot of Lydia's trademark subversiveness happens way before June even enters the picture.
It could be both. Because in the Testaments, she does expound upon exactly the quote that you said, like, what's the better option? Do you stand up and then get smashed or get steamrolled, or do you fade into the background? And we do know that that Aunt Lydia, when becoming an aunt, was in a self-preservation mode. So at that juncture, there is that subversiveness. But it's entirely plausible that, I mean, and again, she does say that there was a time that I genuinely believed I was doing the right thing. Perhaps enough time in that environment and in that indoctrination, and with that position of power over these women, being the most powerful woman as far as we can see and have been shown in the whole of Gilead. That would go to anyone's head, despite their best efforts.
Yeah, and I completely, sorry.
Yeah, no, by all means.
I just completely agree with you. That's exactly the way that it works out to be both. It could be both.
Yeah,
and she could have been subversive, and then eventually, just because of that power, almost conditioned and brainwashed herself to believe everything she was trying to get everyone else to believe. She did it so well. It worked almost on herself, and we have to see June kind of have that reckoning with her and snap her out of it.
And June is definitely the one to be able to do that, because June has been the one repeatedly to be her foil and to have the audacity to stand up to her. And no one stands up to an aunt, let alone Aunt Lydia. And that's such a bombastic thing for someone to do, that it stands to reason that Lydia would take that as an egregious affront to her power, until she realizes, hopefully, that power is misplaced at best. And she took that position purely to save herself, and not because she felt like she genuinely deserved it. It was purely calculative. So I hope that's kind of what's happening here. No matter which way it plays out, though, Ann Dowd is no doubt going to beautifully play it.
God, it's so good.
She is, like, she's got to be my favorite sleeper actor on this whole show. Like, yes, the one that Alexis, who I always forget her last name, that plays Emily. Like, yes, thank you. Like, there are so many amazing actors on this show. It is very hard to pick. But Ann Dowd, like, to be able to play a character that we're supposed to hate, but that we sympathize with and can empathize with, and still feel that gratification. Like, Serena does it amazingly. Yvonne Strahovski is gorgeous at what she does, but Ann Dowd, like, she's just an absolute delight in everything she does.
I am just excited to watch her portray anything and everything, because she's just that equipped.
Likewise. Fun little side note too. I think one of the things that makes Ann Dowd so convincing as Aunt Lydia, as this like hardened judge turned into like untrained doula, midwife, thank you, that's what I was looking for. I don't know baby terms. Is that works. She was born and raised and went to college and still currently lives in Massachusetts.
Oh, cool.
Really?
She was born in Holyoke.
Oh, whoa, cool.
Yeah, so like Northeasterners have a certain grizzle to us. Like, we are loudmouth, we're brazen, we're brash, we are outspoken. like even the softest aloof, even the softest of us are a bit prickly, but inside we are all very squishy and like very caring. One of my favorite quotes is that West Coast people are nice, but they're not kind. East Coasters are kind, but we're not nice.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And Dowd plays that perfectly.
Yeah, she does. That's a good point.